Hi everybody, it's Janet Bloomfield. Welcome back to Suck It Up Buttercup. We're having some more technical issues. I cannot get Lauren or Obsidian on this call. I'm not even sure. I don't see them as being online, so they might actually be late. You know, the common denominator here between the Peter Lloyd call and this call happens to be me, so I'm going to take some of the blame here for not knowing how to get this thing going. I do, however, have Jonathan Roth, also known as Skeptorr, online with me from Israel. He does not have a webcam, so we're just going to see an image of his logo, not even his preferred logo, his logo, when he speaks. I have a few announcements to make first. I'm not sure who's going to be on next week, but I am desperately attempting to seduce the great Sargon of Akkad to come on. I think he's trying to work it into his schedule. I'm not sure, so you'll have to look at the Hangout announcements on ABFM to see who it's going to be. The second announcement is that we're trying to install a plugin into Google Hangouts that essentially turns it into a conference calling machine. So while I'm learning how to do this, I've made it into a hug box. Like I'm talking to people that we're preaching to the choir here as I learn how to do this. I just think that's a smart way to do it. But I do eventually want to open this up so that people can come who don't necessarily agree with me and challenge me, but I need to know how to use the software. So we're installing this plugin, turns it into a conference call. Up to 100 people can call at once. I'll learn how to use that, and as we move along the Hangout progression, I'll learn how to do that. So in the meantime, I have with me here Jonathan Roth, also known as Skeptorr, who runs the absolutely... Sorry, I'm sorry. Welcome,
correct
Skeptorr.
You for a second. Yeah, I'm not Jonathan Roth.
Oh,
that's a
I'm
different
sorry,
person.
No. Oh my God, that's wow. I'm really good at this, aren't I? I don't even know the name of my guest.
Yeah, we all Israelis, we all look alike, so yeah.
I had no idea you two were different people. Okay, that's embarrassing. I am very, very sorry. I don't have Jonathan Roth. I have Skeptorr. Now, Skeptorr is the guy who makes the brilliant Ask a Jew, right?
That's right. That's me.
Okay, I've got some of it correct. Some of it's correct. If you have not seen Ask a Jew, especially 25 Invisible Benefits of Gaming While Jewish, you really have to get on YouTube and subscribe to that channel. Absolutely hilarious. Welcome, Skeptorr, to my Hangout. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, I come into the men's rights movement very much as a wife and as a mother. That's sort of how I discovered men's rights, but I'm always interested in other people's stories. How did you come to learn about men's rights and get involved in this?
Okay, it was a gradual process. I started with watching YouTube channels probably 2 years ago. It started with atheism because I'm an atheist, and I found out about Thunderfoot's videos, his channel, and The Amazing Atheist, and all those people. As time passed, I learned about what they talked about feminism, you know, everything they talk about in feminism. And at first, it didn't strike me that this is a problem, this is an issue, or that men have real issues that needs to be discussed. And the more I watched and the more I learned, the more I got into it and realized that this is a serious and very important issue. So that's how I got to I think I met Dean Esme in another hangout with someone called Dr. Lyman, and from there I found out about the Voice for Men.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm really sorry that Obsidian Raw is not here, because he comes into it from sort of the game and pickup artist angle as a young black man living in Philadelphia. And I'm really sorry he's not here, because I thought we could have a great conversation about the different ways that we've come into men's rights. But since he's not, let's talk about your great video, The Feminist Achievements of 2014. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so according to you, the greatest well, not according to you, according to these three feminists, one of them is Zerlina Maxwell. I swear to God, they looked like they looked like drones. They looked like carbon copies. They were wearing identical clothes. They had identical smiles. They just looked. There was, I mean, except for one of them being black, you couldn't distinguish between them. Wasn't that weird?
It was so weird because, you know, not only that, but also if you see the video, the host says hello, and all of them say hello the very same way with the very same words. They say like, hello, it's fabulous, and, you know, they do it at the very same time. It's like a machine is, you know, just telling them all to say the same thing at the same time. It was so weird. And yeah, they don't look, you know, they look like copies of, you know, a certain image of someone who's supposed to be on a feminist, successful feminist, probably.
Yeah, there was no variation at all. It's kind of like the joke that college girls all wear like brown Ugg boots and leggings and plaid shirts, right? And you can see them all lined up. These women were there was like no variation between them at all. It was weird. If you haven't seen this video, Skeptorr 214 Great Feminist Achievements, I will drop the link underneath this video when I'm done. Definitely go and check it out. But according to these drones, these Borg feminists,
who by the way selected the same achievements by order. You know, they were supposed to select the greatest feminist achievements in 2014, and they selected the same one for the very first achievement.
Which was? Tell us what it was now.
It was the name of the singer. I can't remember.
Beyoncé.
Beyoncé, right? Putting the feminist sign in her show. Wow, that's such a great achievement for women and feminism all over the world when Beyoncé is putting a sign saying feminist.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, and you said in your video that Beyoncé's not up there singing and dancing the way she wants to because she's a feminist. She's up there singing and dancing the way she wants to because she's talented. Now, I have a little bit of a different perspective on that. I think that the only reason anyone listens to her music is because she's half naked. She's marginally talented. If she was an overweight, unattractive woman, she would have zero success at all. If she doesn't get up there half naked and shake her tits and ass, no one will pay her any attention at all. I think she's the opposite.
Yeah, well, we can say it's obviously one of the main reasons why she's successful. I guess they make music for her like they make music, you know, in the industry for all the people who look good. It's just the same songs, the same music, just regurgitated again and again.
Yeah, I mean, if she looked like Adele, you know that Adele is actually a legitimately fabulously singer because she doesn't fit the standard body type, so she had to have a voice to overcome that. And all these booty shakers saying that, here, feminism is the reason that I get to shake my ass and get by on no talent because I have boobs. How is that an achievement?
That's not an achievement because, you know, still it's her show, you know, she owns the show. She can decide what she wants to do. If Miley Cyrus wants to come on stage naked, then she comes on stage naked. If Beyoncé wants to write feminist, she can write a feminist, you know. I don't see like she didn't need to fight anyone or put a huge struggle just to be able to do that, and she managed to do that. Even if she struggled to do that, that would still not be an achievement for women.
And what does struggle mean in this context? I mean, let's talk about Malala and struggle, and these women claiming that putting a sign up behind a pop singer is equivalent. I mean, I can't even believe Malala came second. Are you kidding me?
That actually shows you the mindset of these people. What's most important to them? Because I think that what they see is that if we have a woman like Beyoncé, which has a lot of young women, admiring her and worshiping her, and she goes and says, "I'm a feminist," it kind of serves the purpose that all the children that, you know, all the kids that like Beyoncé would now say, "Yeah, I'm a feminist because Beyoncé is a feminist." So they're just recruiting more and more soldiers to their cause. Probably that's the achievement here.
Yeah, it's not much of an achievement though, because as Karen Strachan, I really love the way that Karen Strachan can articulate such deep points. That she says feminism is optional. That you ask almost everybody if they believe in equality, and they say yes. And if you ask people if they are feminists, they say no. So the problem is not that people don't believe in equality. The problem is with feminism. So they might be out there recruiting ignorant little girls and boys who don't know what feminism actually means. They just buy the, buy the pop culture definition of it. But those people are going to grow up, and they grow up into adults, very few of whom identify as feminists. So even their achievement is pathetic.
Yeah, well, actually, I just saw a survey or a study made in 2014. They went and asked people, do they consider themselves as feminists? And most, of course, said no. But then they said, well, feminism stands for equality for men and women and blah, blah, blah. And then they asked the question again. And for my surprise, it went from like 30% agreement to 70% or 60-something percent saying, okay, so I'm now a feminist. So that's how ignorant even grown-up people are. And I think that's really the problem here, that most people do not understand what feminism is and all the repercussions of calling yourself or supporting or taking part in any feminist movement. I don't think most people really know that, really know what it means to be a part of this ideology.
No, they think it's just putting a big sign up behind yourself and calling yourself a feminist, and it means nothing. Feminists are not interested in equality at all, and I've spent lots of time discussing reproductive rights. But one of the things that you say in your video, 2014 achievements, that I had to write down because I thought it was just so spot on, that the problems with abortion are strictly problems for men. They are not problems for women. Can you explain what you meant for that for people who haven't seen the video? Because that was fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that a woman can decide if she wants to have an abortion. A man is forced to do whatever she decides to choose, because if he wants the baby and she doesn't, she gets the vote. And if it's the other way around, if she doesn't want the baby, if she wants the baby and he doesn't, he's screwed for life, because now he has to pay for a baby he didn't want to he didn't wish to have in the first place. So I think it's fairly obvious. It would make sense if she wants to have a baby and he doesn't, then he would not be obligated to take care of that baby.
And feminists used to argue that. Uh-oh, my camera's gone out of focus here. I hope it comes back in.
Just come closer to the camera and go back. Probably would help.
Okay. Try that?
Yeah, but stay closer for a few seconds.
Okay. Let's see.
No.
It's not doing. You know what I can do is just momentarily turn off the camera and turn it back on. I don't know what's the matter with this stupid thing.
You have a Zoom. You can do it manually. Do you have the ability to do it manually?
There we go. There we go. Okay, we fixed that. You see, I'm getting more adept at this. Technically, a genius is what I think. Can fix the focus on a camera.
Who says women cannot be good with tools and engineering?
That's right. Well, it's a camera, right? So that's different. Okay, we started off talking about feminism being this big sign behind a sparkly pop star who really contributes nothing, and then you end your video with just the most disgusting crassness, like feminists shitting on flags and putting crosses up their butts. What is up with that? What do you make of that? I don't get that. Do they think they're going to attract people with this kind of grotesque, crass behavior?
Yeah, I think they do think that, and people sometimes like to express themselves in a very artistic way or a very explicit way, and that's how they do it, which is kind of vulgar. And I think it works. I think that a lot of women, young women especially, see that, and it attracts them. I don't think they do anything that doesn't really makes some kind of sense in the sense that when they want to get public opinion, to get the spotlight, it helps. I'm definitely sure it helps them be more visible.
Well, I guess so. No publicity, no such thing as bad publicity, but that's the last way you're ever going to attract me, is to shove paintballs up my vagina and fart them on a canvas.
Yeah, well, that was quite extreme, and usually that comes from places where people are so fucking bored, where everything is so good. I think that you won't see that in countries where, they have a hard life, or, a lot of people are poor and need to struggle to get money to buy food. You won't see that happening. It's like really first world problems.
Absolutely. And even in the first world, where I live in Canada, we have an incredibly harsh climate, like very, very harsh. And as I like to say, there are no feminists when it's 6 o'clock in the morning and it's -50 with the wind chilled and there's 3 feet of snow on the driveway. Someone's got a shovel. Like you absolutely, there's no strong independent women at that point. They're all volunteering to make bacon and eggs while he goes out to shovel the driveway. So even in first world countries, the minute things get a little bit hard, there goes feminism. I mean, do you think that's fair to say that feminism takes hold in places where women are so pampered they've got nothing else to think about?
Of course not. You'll never see feminist. You always see feminist women, or men even, talk about they're not. Why don't we have so many women CEOs or presidents or prime ministers or members of parliament or whatever? You never see feminists go, we need to struggle for more women to be truckers, or to be in construction. They'll never do that because it's not. I think that the movement itself, not the general public of people who call themselves feminists. I'm talking about the movement, the people who lead the movements and the political movements. Their agenda is to get more power, and the only way that they can get more power is to strive for positions of power that you can have power, like being a president or being a CEO. Everywhere that you can have power.
Right. They don't want equal obligations or equal icky jobs. They don't want equal women in the sewers, right? Because that's gross.
Of course not. Yeah.
Well, that seems like really nice equality then. You are in Israel at the moment, right?
That's correct.
Okay, one of the things feminism always likes to trot out is that in Israel, men and women serve equally in the military, doing exactly the same things, and they've proven that women can be relied on as soldiers in combat. What's your take on that? Is that true for one thing?
Factually, it's not true for 2 reasons. First, men serve 3 years, women serve 2 years. If a woman wants to get out of being drafted, she just needs to declare she's religious. If a man declares that he's religious, he doesn't, they still draft him. Unless he finds a way to become a serious Orthodox Jew that studies in a yeshiva, and that's very hard to do. So it's not on par here. That's one thing. The second thing is that we do have women in infantry, in the Air Force, as fighters. But it's very rare. You won't see it unless the woman wants to do that. But for me, for example, for men, they can come, get drafted, and they'll tell them, yeah, you're going to infantry. We're not asking you if you want to go, or you will go for the tank division, and we're not asking you. It's not the same with women. They have a choice. They can choose to be fighters.
And what do they typically choose to do?
Typically, they don't choose to do that because, naturally, most women would not like to be fighters.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So they get drafted into the Israeli army. What do they end up doing? What are they doing? Like being nurses, driving
Yeah,
trucks?
mostly in offices, clerks, being like clerks, or in various aspects, even technicians, and actually every part you can think of, except to be fighters, which they need to volunteer to.
Okay, so this whole idea that in Israel men and women are exactly equal and fight side by side and get drafted, it's just complete fiction, basically.
I would say that everything that everyone who says there's a situation where you have total equality between men and women would be fictional. I think it's physically impossible to do that.
Okay, interesting, because that's always an example that's trotted out. Oh, but in Israel, the women are drafted into infantry positions. I've always thought, and you know what? It's surprisingly hard to find the truth in the media because most of it will claim that yes, that's true, that's absolutely true, and yet people on the ground are saying no, 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 that's not true. And what happens when a woman gets in infantry? It scares the fuck out of her, and she gets pregnant. Then what?
I don't know. I don't know what happens if she gets pregnant. I think she will probably not be a fighter anymore.
That's exactly right. You get that pass in almost any army in the world. The U.S. Army doesn't deploy pregnant women. Don't want to go to Iraq? you have a uterus pass. So it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous debate about women in combat in terms of being equally qualified to do that.
But in the army in the United States, everyone volunteers eventually because it's a profession, right? You can become a soldier. You're not drafted. In Israel, you're drafted. You have to be a soldier.
Yeah, mandatory service. We have a provision for mandatory service if the president declares a state of war. Then they can indeed draft people. Draft people? No, they draft men. Only men. It's very, very specific in the law that only men can be drafted in a state of war. Women can volunteer, but they are under no obligation.
Yeah, so have you ever seen a protest, even by a Voice for Men, that demands women being drafted the same number as men? You know, we want equality, we want 50-50%. Make a protest. Let's see what the feminists have to say about that. I'm sure they would not be protesting against it because it would be a lose-lose situation for them.
Yeah, they're like utopian idiots. So what they'll say is we want the right for women to choose combat, and then we want nobody to be drafted. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, so who do you think is going to be defending? Pardon me. Who do you think is going to be defending your country in a state of war? They're such utopian idiots. This is something that I saw that one of the top comments on your 2014 video was actually Sargon congratulating you that he was thinking of doing that and you've done a fine job. And one of the things I want to discuss with him is, do people join these liberal social justice warrior things because they are intellectually are they stupid, or does getting deep into feminism and social justice stuff make you stupid? Like, which comes first here, the stupid or the theory?
I cannot speak for Sargon, but I think the reason is it starts where people are becoming hypersensitive, and every little thing offends them. And one day they discover that this is actually a good tool, maybe even subconsciously, they discover that this is a good tool to make people do what you want. You know, when you get offended and you see people react to that, and you can make them do what you want to do and say what you want them to say or not to say, then it becomes a subconscious tool that you think that everything that offends you is something that everyone should listen and react according to what you want to do. And I think that actually is a way that distorts their ability to listen. Goodfellow made a good video called "Breaking the Camel's Back," and it's basically a cartoon where you see Andrea Dworkin in a feminism class teaching feminism, and it's very funny. Anyone who I recommend anyone to watch it, and it's something that I actually, this is from your first question, how did I come to feminism? Well, I think it attracted me because my initial in my channel initially I talked about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the thing that I've noticed is that there's a group of people from the left or the extreme left, when you're arguing with them, you see they are coming only from an emotional standpoint. They only argue about how they cannot take the fact that people are suffering, and this drives them completely and utterly, you know, not insane, but they're so divorced from reality that you cannot argue sensibly or rationally with these people. You go, yeah, but listen, maybe Israel is wrong, but the Palestinians are doing this, and they'll go, oh, but Israel is that and that and that, and they just give you a barrage of arguments unrelated to what you're trying to say. And you see, it's like you know, it's they just pouring out arguments from emotion. And I think that's what attracted me to this issue, because I see the very same thought pattern and behaviors with people who argue for feminism and what we call social justice warriors. They're just coming from an emotional standpoint where they cannot even, you know, hold a rational thought. Usually when they get irritated, there's this thing that is known that when you're angry, you're thinking with your limbic system. And when you're cold and rational, you're thinking with your higher cortex. And once you get angry, the higher cortex, you know, all your rationality goes to hell, and you are unable to absorb anything or think any way rationally. So that's what I think, with my very long answer, what happens to these people. They are very hypersensitive. Everything triggers them. They go to the limbic system. They start, you know, arguing from anger and from emotion, and you cannot rationalize with them.
It sounds exactly like you're describing any religious fundamentalist out there. Any kind of religious fundamentalism where it's simply impossible to penetrate, except with one thing. I mean, let's talk for a second about the Israeli-Palestine issue, which is incredibly divisive. I read a book by a guy named, I believe his name is Patrick Beaumont, and he's Washington Times war reporter who's covered lots of different conflicts. And I felt that his book was really objective and balanced. He really didn't take sides. One of the things that ends that kind of, I cannot get my head through this fanaticism kind of idealism, zealotry, is money. You look at the situation in Northern Ireland. I mean, that was just centuries of religious-based violence. The Protestants and the Catholics. It's no different than the Sunnis and the Shiites, right? Two different versions of Christianity. What eventually stopped the bullets? It was economic development in Ireland, having a job to go to. Let me ask you a personal opinion. Let's say there was actual economic activity in Gaza, like there were functioning factories. It was a fully functioning economic zone. You're 17 years old. You can get up, put on nice clothes, go to a nice office job, earn decent money, come home. Do you think those boys would still choose to go in through rocks at Israeli tanks if that was the option? I mean, will money stop a conflict? Will stop the conflict in Palestine, or does it go beyond that?
Well, that's probably the best question, one of the greatest questions about this conflict, because I've been asking myself this question for the past 20 some years since I was able to vote, and even before I was able to vote. And I thought that was the case. I was sure that was the case, that if Palestinians, I remember the first Intifada started at 86 until 92, 93, and I thought that these people are poor, they're miserable, they have nothing in life, so they have no reason not to fight. And I thought that if we just, sell this thing, get them money, so they would have, infrastructure and jobs, and they will have something to live for, then they would not be violent. So in '92, we got a left-wing party as a ruling party, and we started the peace process with the Palestinians. The 7-8 years that followed, it was a great time because a lot of money poured in. We had talks. We were starting to withdraw from the territories. We withdraw from Gaza and from Nablus and from Ramallah and all these areas. And we started cooperating with the Palestinians economically, a lot of co-ventures, and they even opened a casino, because in Israel it's not legal to gamble. They opened a casino in Jericho, and Israelis just flooded in there and poured a lot of money over there, and it all seemed great, except for the small fact that during all that time, there was the extreme militant Muslims. At that time, it was Hamas, and they usually came into Israel and did terrorist attacks, like bombing buses and restaurants and cafes, and many innocent people died. Even though we were at the peace process, even though we were giving back territories, even though we were pouring, and the world was pouring huge amounts of money. I'm talking billions of dollars went into the West Bank and Gaza Strip during the first years of the peace process. And the Hamas had his own agenda. They wanted to. They are a religious, a terrorist organization that wishes to incite war in order to take over the entire area, the very same way we see with ISIS in the Middle East. And I remember when I was, at 2000, the second Intifada broke, and stop me where I'm getting boring. The second Intifada broke in the year 2000, and I remember there was a event that really shocked me, and that was that two Israeli reserve soldiers went to the West Bank by mistake, into the West Bank, and the Palestinian Authority police arrested them and lynched them in front of the cameras in public. And there was a huge crowd under the police building, and the policemen were just taking the bodies. They threw them out the window, and the crowd, the mob, just kicked the bodies and mutilated the bodies, and it was so shocking to me. I couldn't understand. I couldn't comprehend how this is possible, because they were not Hamas. They were the Palestinian Authority, in which we were doing so well, and it came out of bloody nowhere. And I remember what followed was the second Intifada, that a very violent and very violent Intifada, that we had like terrorist attacks every day for like 2 years. Every day, shootings, bombings.
This is when Hamas won? This is when Hamas...
No, that Hamas was not in the picture at that time. It was organized by the Palestinian Authority, and that's why we didn't allow Yasser Arafat, who was leading the Palestinian Authority at the time, to leave his house. He was surrounded, and only after like 3 years, or 4 years, we managed to end the second Intifada, and it took a lot of force, a lot of we went with tanks into Gaza. We went with the military into the West Bank to stop all the terrorists and take out all the terrorists. So I think that was a game changer for me. At that point, I just started to realize, and the more time passed, that's what I realized, is that money did not fix the problem. It was not about the money. And in 2005, a new prime minister was elected, or 2002 or 3 was elected for instead of Yasser Arafat, and he was more moderate. And he said, "I don't want violence. I want to do it peacefully." And this is of course Abu Mazen, the current one. And in 2005, our prime minister offered him, like, take 95% of the territories back, except the parts where we have a big city where we cannot move all these people. Take all the territories back, almost all the territories back, plus East Jerusalem as your capital, and let's sell this once and for all. And he said no. For I cannot understand why, because that was the last chance for them to have a state, or the very best chance for them to start to have a state. Something they wished for like for 60 years, they never got it, and now they had a great chance to get almost everything they wanted, and they said no. And that really boggled my mind, because I didn't understand why. When we were offered 50% of the land in 47, we said yes immediately. We wanted the country, we wanted the state at any price. If that was the mindset of the Palestinian prime minister, I think he would have said yes. I think that's not the case.
What is it that they want? What do they want?
So I think there are two different agendas. One of the government in the West Bank of the Palestinian Authority, and another one in Gaza by Hamas, and there's the agenda of the people. I think that because most Palestinians are Muslims, and most Muslims usually are in some way religious, they have a different set of values, which is different to what a Westerner would have. The problem is that we think that everyone is like us. I thought that Palestinians are exactly like me. They think that all that they want to do is have a good life, a lot of money, a nice house, a great family, a nice job, watch TV, having fun, having drinks with the guys. That's all they wanted in life. But I realized that it's a cultural thing, that some cultures don't see things like that. They're growing up with different set of values, and they value honor or death or anything else that we don't consider even, a value. Like we hear about a lot of cases where Muslims would go and people would kill their own daughter, or they send their family to kill the daughter just because they heard that she kissed some guy, without marrying him first. And this happens quite a lot. I don't think, and it's very normalized inside in Palestinian society. It's actually normalized. So they have a different set of values, and we have a different set of values. And people think that if we solve the problem the way we see it, then it would be solved. That's, I think, the serious issue here. So I don't think just money will fix this problem. It can help. It can make it worse if they are poor, but it won't fix it all the way through.
Okay, the whole time that you've been talking, I've been picturing those three women on the couch at the beginning of your video again. And in so many ways, they just embody fanaticism. They are dressed the same, they use the same words, they think the same. And I honestly think there are parallels here that you can draw, that they're not going to be satisfied with just everybody having a happy, productive life. That's not what they're interested in at all. When you're dealing with fanatics of this depth, money is not enough. I mean, what do you think it's going to take to satisfy those three identically dressed drones on the couch at the beginning of your video? What will satisfy them?
Absolutely nothing. I think that if you listen to the rhetoric that comes from academia and feminist main figures, is that we came a long way, but there is still so much to do, and they never specify an objective. That's intentional, because the objective is to gain as much power as possible. That has no visible. That's not a visible goal. You know, that's not a goal that you can say, yeah, we had enough. And so I don't think money or rights or whatever would help. It's the mindset that you, even if you open. I'm working on a serious video, not a funny video, about all the aspects of feminism that I came by, and in one area of the video, in one sequence in the video, I'm talking about gender studies. And if you open gender studies, the basic definitions in gender studies, you see so much agenda in something that is supposed to be an academic way to study and analyze the gender differences. And it's not at all about that. It's about facilitating tools to get more power for feminism under the veil of gaining equality for women. So you can actually see that in the basic definition. There's a mindset over there that we are oppressed and unequal by definition, and we need to change that. So it's just, you know, a ball that keeps on going. It never stops. This is the mindset. This is the basis.
Right. If you start with the definition that you're oppressed, which is absurd in Western countries where women have more legal rights than men do, if you start with the definition, there's no end to it.
Exactly. It's not a conclusion. It's not let's check and test and see and measure and find out, and if it's not equal, then we'll fix it. It's we're not equal, let's go on from that point. So that's how I know that there's nothing that would be enough. There's no way this mindset would stop.
Okay, in my opinion, the best way to take on feminism is to just keep shining a bright light on the hypocrisy and try and get people to understand what it is that they're seeing. That, to me, is the best approach here. That we've just got to keep talking about the discrimination that men face and the privilege that women actually have. Do you think there are other ways that we could be using our resources, other directions we could be throwing our talents to break open this issue and start interrupting the power of the fanatics?
That's a very difficult question. I think that men's issues, men's problems, unfortunately, most people will dismiss it, even if they see evidence that this is the case. We're so indoctrinated to think for so many years that men's problems are not real or serious problems, or that they do not exist. And I don't think you can come to people that are oblivious to everything and start from that point. You know, it's supposed to be a process, a gradual process where they come to understand it. Because from my point of view, that's what happened to me. You know, I did not, as a man, I dismissed men's issues until I learned about it more and more and more. Not just from men's issues, but what the feminists are doing. And it was a gradual process. You cannot come to terms with that so quickly. So I think that the first thing we need to do is bring awareness to what is feminist ideology, why it is bad, and then go from there to what it's doing in real life. You know, what are the repercussions of feminist ideology in real life, and from there you go to okay, so this is how it hurts men in the process.
Okay, you realize we've been talking for almost an hour here, and I was only supposed to take up 30 minutes of your time.
I know. I managed to squeeze a few more minutes.
Okay, that's wonderful. I have one last question for you. If you could see one big change in feminism in the next year, what would you like that to be? Would you like it to be like rape culture changes, or they admit that domestic violence is mutual? What one big concession would you like to see feminists make in 2015 as we move towards making them make all the concessions? Just pick one for us that you think is really important.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't want them to make any concessions whatsoever. I think it's pointless. I want actually for them to be more radical, more maniacal, more crazy, because it would be so much easier then to shed the light on what feminism truly is. You know, it's not like, oh yeah, we're just gonna relinquish that, and that would only draw people into feminism even more. I want them to be more extreme. From my point of view, it's the same thing that we saw in France 2 weeks ago. Only when, you know, the shit hits the fan, people are starting to wake up. And the massive protest of 3.5 million people would not have happened if, you know, we didn't have these maniacs go into the newspaper and start shooting. And that's what I wish that would happen, you know, that the ideology would become even more crazy, do something really, really crazy, and that would be actually their demise, in my eyes.
That, you know what, that's an excellent answer, and thinking about it, I agree. I really hope that they just go right off the rails. Let's hope for a 2015 in which one of them completely loses their mind and doesn't shoot anyone. I hope nobody gets shot.
I hope to, I hope so as well. You know, but unfortunately, I don't see real change without people seriously getting hurt. Unfortunately, it's like it's a necessary evil, so people would wake up.
I think you're right. Sadly, let's hope we're both wrong. I would like to thank you so much for joining me for this hangout. I'm so sorry that Obsidian and Lauren either couldn't get in or life caught them and they couldn't make it. Next week, if it's not Sargon of Akkad, and I hope that it is, I'll do my best to make sure it's him, perhaps we'll have Mumi and Lauren on. Please follow the Hangouts announcements at avoiceformen.com to see who the guests are going to be next week. Thank you so much, Skeptorr, for joining me. Fantastic conversation.
Thank you. It was fun.
Okay, we'll see you next week on Suck It Up, Buttercup.